Hey, it's Joel, and welcome back to the Joel Homie Show. Today is my last video of 2020, and I have a lot of things that I would like to speak about, and this video, I honestly don't know how long it's going to be. I want to leave this, for the vast majority, unedited, and I'm going to try to not censor myself as much in this video, because I really just want to speak my feelings in this video about what has happened in 2020, so if you don't want to watch this, please don't. You're not going to lose anything from not watching this video, but if you want to listen to me talk about how 2020 has quite literally corrupted the world as I used to know it and as the world used to know itself, well, go ahead. I invite you to listen to me ramble on about stuff that no one really cares about hearing me talk about. So, the first thing that I thought is a very valid point to make is that 2020 has literally been the worst year of my life. And it's been the worst year of a lot of people's lives, and a lot of people that are my age have not witnessed anything this bad ever. And there's, unless you're like living in a third world country where there isn't the resources to deal with things like this, as well as, say, first and second world parts of the world have dealt with, obviously it's a different conversation. But people like myself that are around me in the same city and in the same state, in the same country, say in the same general part of the world, it's something that is brand new to me and a lot of people like myself that have just never had any reason to have to deal with something like this. And now that I've had to go through all of 2020 in its purest form, not filtered at all, just sort of smacking me in the face as hard as it possibly can with all of the different things that have happened, it's been really hard, and I've always said to myself that if 2020 was a person, I would not be nice to them at all. And it's not something I would ever do to anybody out of my own choice, because if anyone has never hurt me, why do I have any reason to hurt them? I've always believed in kindness and not violence, because why hurt someone if they haven't done anything to you? There's absolutely no reason to do that, unless you're just a bad and cruddy person. But that's just the thing. If 2020 was a person, and even, well, it's not, it has hurt me, and it's hurt a lot of other people, and I don't really care who you are. 2020 has definitely taken its toll on you, good or bad, because there's probably a couple people out there that were in a position in life where 2020 and COVID-19 haven't really affected them drastically, just due to the different things that may have been going on in their life. Like maybe they were doing a job that didn't require them to go anywhere and they were already financially supporting themselves. Well, then maybe, yeah, sure, 2020 hasn't done a lot for you that's been bad, but you still now have to stay inside and have to wear a mask to go literally anywhere. So that is, as you can see, sort of my feelings about 2020, and I will forever be thankful for the good things that have happened. There have undeniably been some absolutely amazing key points in time that have happened in 2020. Like, a lot of this sort of COVID time, as a lot of people call it, has inspired people to pick up new projects and all kinds of things like that. Like, there's a lot of people that have been undyingly creative over this time period and have done amazing things. There's a lot of people that have created YouTube channels over the span of time and are now some of the more iconic and more well-known faces to some people. And that's amazing, because COVID-19 and all of this time combined has made people stuck inside and have to think to themselves, well, how do I not go insane from having to stay in here and not do anything? And that leads to a lot of people putting themselves out there, and a lot of people like myself that look at these people and they're like, wait, you didn't do this before? How? You're so creative and so amazing at what you do. And it's very, very amazing some of the things that have happened in 2020, and I'm very thankful for a lot of this, even while that all of this COVID and all of this stuff has sucked. It has done a little bit of good for the world. Even if it's not a drastic amount, there are some good things that I don't want to let go of now that they've happened in 2020. And some of the people that I've met throughout 2020, some of the people that are in my, like, friends list on the homepage of my channel, those people I all met in 2020. And I can't imagine my life without any of them now because of how nice they have been and how encouraging they've been. And all of them are absolutely amazing people that, they're one of the few people that in my life I can, well, not literally walk up to, obviously, because they're all online friends, but I can comment anything and know that they're not just going to hate on me or anything like that. That's something that I really don't speak my mind about, because I know that hate hurts, and I don't want to get hated on by anybody, and I don't want to hate on anybody because I know how it's felt in the past when I've got bullied and things like that. Nothing too drastic, but I know how it feels to be put down by other people, and I hate the feeling. I don't think there's many people around that actually have any reason to like the feeling of being bullied on and hated on. So, there's been some good, and there's been a lot of bad. And the channel has, well, actually lived through this, and I count that as a key point in this channel's lifespan, because this channel is literally a mirror image of me in a finer form. There's a saying that a fursona, or an anthropomorphic version of yourself, is supposed to be you, but without all the impurities, all of the bad things, for lack of a better word, and I feel that this channel is sort of that. It is me, but without the bad things, because there's a side of me that I will never talk about here on this YouTube channel until I really feel comfortable about it, because this is a family-friendly channel. But there is a much darker side of my life that I don't really want to talk about, because I absolutely hate that it's happened to me, and I don't want it to ever happen to anyone else. And I'm going through a little bit of that with my best friend Deegan, because he is still very, well, pure, for lack of a better word, and he's not been ruined by the world yet. And that's something that I feel like, for lack of a better word, this is going to sound really stupid, but I was talking to his mom on the way back from going to downtown Disney with him a while back, is I feel like a parent sort of figure to him, because I want to protect him from the things that I've been exposed to in bad ways. And it makes me feel good that I've been able to succeed at that, because Deegan is my best friend, and he means the world to me. And the fact that I can sort of protect him from the things that ruined my life for a short amount of time, and actually not for a short amount of time, for quite a while they really took a toll on me, it means a lot that I can protect him from things like that. And, well, that brings me to another topic that sort of needs to be talked about by itself. I remember that shortly before COVID actually came around, when I was still in school, it was probably about late March. It may have actually been March the 13th, I don't exactly remember. And Friday the 13th, I mentioned that date because that is the date that, that was my last physical day at school. And I remember thinking to myself, because that wasn't an official last day of school yet, because it was still like, well, I'm going to go back to school Monday. Obviously, we already knew about COVID, and the schools were already doing a lot of extra sanitation to the desks and the chairs and the door handles and the typical stuff like that. But it wasn't anything that was drastically affecting me or anyone else around me too much yet. Other than, obviously, the people working at the schools were having to do this extra sanitation, which is obviously another sort of layer of work. And I remember thinking to myself, because I was waiting with my friend Deegan to go into a classroom where me and him usually just sort of chilled out at lunch with a bunch of other classmates and a teacher that we were relatively close with. And I remember thinking to myself while I was standing there, how can this get any worse? And now, with my mind having to go through the rest of 2020, and it's been through 2020 in its purest form, I honestly look at that thought and I'm like, how on earth could I have ever thought that? I mean, extra sanitation, boo-hoo, you have to deal with that. That wasn't affecting me in any way, but yet I had already thought that it was bad and that it was the worst thing on the face of Earth. And that was an honest thought. At the time, I was honestly thinking, how can this get any worse? Because I'd never had to deal with anything that was already doing this to the world. Because I knew that other parts of the world were already literally in a state of decay due to this. Like, literally what all of our lives are like right now in this pandemic is what a lot of the world was already having to deal with, but in much worse conditions. This is when the virus was still a massive, like, ungodly problem in China. And it's not anymore. It is still a very, very, very big problem there. And it's still a very, very big problem in basically just all parts of the world as a whole. But at this time, it was still mostly in China, and it was still mostly originating and coming out from there. And I remember looking at some of the sort of time-lapse, as they were, of the spread of COVID-19 shortly after the pandemic had started. And it was like, wow, it's spreading this fast. And it's taking a toll on the world this fast. Nothing had ever happened like that in my lifetime, and the fact that I've been able to live through this and not literally been killed from the depressing thoughts and the virus going around and having to be stuck inside. But school was sort of like an outlet for me, for lack of a better word, is whenever I was annoyed of having to be stuck inside. Well, I got to go to school, and I got to talk to the teachers that I was friends with, and all of my classmates that I was friends with, and all of just the general sort of feeling of being at school around other people that I otherwise call my kind. People that are my age, living in the same world as I am, and I can actually speak and relate with them. Whereas with my family, I can't necessarily do that, and it's not really a bad thing, but it's just a much different feeling from being able to talk to anyone in my school that is living through the exact same world as I am with technology and the other things that are happening in the world. And that's a hard feeling when you're stuck inside and you can't talk to anyone else. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been some low points in COVID-19, like the first sort of round of the pandemic, as it were. After COVID-19 has settled down to a certain degree, I had my best friends Joseph and Deegan come over a couple times, and I went over to Deegan's house a couple times as well. And at the time, it wasn't anything bad, because COVID-19 wasn't horrible, and it wasn't this thing that was ruining the world, because the pandemic and the isolation and everything had actually worked for a little bit, and it hadn't been as bad as it was in recent months when it had flared up and it was spreading for the first time. But shortly after that, well, now the pandemic has started again, because after people were like, oh, it can go out again, well, then they started going out again, and it has, well, taken the exact same toll on the world again that it did the first time. And now people are going out everywhere, not caring, for lack of a better word, and now it's just done this entire cycle of ruining the world again. And I don't like it. I really don't like any of it. It's so sort of, in retrospect, you get to back up and look at the human race as a whole and be like, wow, you guys are kind of stupid, and you don't know how to deal with this pandemic at all. And that's not to hate on anyone in specific, just as a whole, people are really, really selfish. And I've noticed that a lot of people aren't really caring about others, like all of the non-maskers and whatever you want to call them. It's sort of, you look at them and you're like, what, you're doing this just to be a jerk sort of thing. And it's kind of funny, because if you would have taken me from 8 months ago in, say, March, and showed them a meme of mid-2020, I probably would have been like, what is that? I probably would have been too confused to speak to you, or laughed in your face out of pure confusion. And I was talking to my friend Deegan, because I was walking around downtown Disney with him probably about a couple weeks ago or something like that, and I was walking around just talking to him, and I was like, imagine if you stuck us from March or January or February in here, and you could get to react to what we would have thought, because the thought of having to wear a mask to go literally anywhere was so distant. Like, yeah, sure, you wear a mask to go to a construction site and do some work on like shaving metal or cutting wood or something like that. Yeah, you don't want to breathe in those stuff, that's normal. Or you're doing surgery, sure, you wear a surgical mask. Now you wear a mask to literally do anything. You want to go to Target or the supermarket, wear a mask. You want to go to the doctor, wear a mask. And it's horrible what we've had to go through now, and it's a weird time that we're living in, and it's going to be really amazing to be able to look back on this. It's not going to be amazing to be able to look back on this horrible time. Obviously, this is a horrible time, and it's not going to ever be good again, because now 2020 is behind us, and this is the last sort of thing I'll say on YouTube publicly before I live stream over New Year's into 2021. Even Meg has some words to say about 2020. But yeah, so boring video, I know, but I really just wanted to speak my thoughts about 2020 and what has happened. But I am excited for 2021, even while it will obviously have the remains and the sort of side effects of 2020 still there. I'm very excited for this channel going into the future, and it's really, really impressive that this channel has made it through 2020, because as I had mentioned earlier, this channel is just a better version of myself, and it's very impressive that I've made it through this time period without wanting to quit. And I've wanted to quit a lot of times, but I can't bring myself to do it because of how many people that, well, for lack of a better word, know me, specifically because I'm online. I would never want to quit as a whole, but that is one of the main reasons that I'm lowering my schedule going into 2021 temporarily, simply because the workload on top of all of the things that have happened already with the digital online schooling and the pandemic, COVID-19, and 2020 as a whole, and my personal problems in life with things like my jaw and my back and things outside of that as well. Well, it's a lot to sort of keep a positive mindset and be like, well, I've got to film this video for tomorrow. Let me just get right on with that and not be like, well, I really don't want to do this. My life sucks right now. I hate this. And I've had those thoughts. And I believe a lot of people around me that I still know have also had those thoughts of like, why continue? Why keep on going through this absolutely horrible time in life that has literally already just taken such a drastic toll on me? And it's a very understandable thought with what has happened in 2020, and I am very excited for 2021 because of all of the absolutely amazing things that have happened in 2020, even while considering the horrible things that have happened. I made it through 2020 without quitting. I kept on going, and this channel is still here, still rising in popularity, and still succeeding at existing, for lack of a better word. And now that I've gone through 2020 in its purest form, I feel like I can take on whatever 2021 can throw me. But with all that being said, I know it's a really boring video. I really just wanted to speak my thoughts about 2020, as I really don't really get to talk like this in a calm sort of form, because usually I want to talk fast and get the point across for videos to be shorter and keep people's attention spans here. But either way, I don't really care if you made it through the entire video or not. Even if you haven't, even if you're already gone somewhere else and you're not listening to this, or if you are listening to this, thank you for being here. It means a lot to me. And I'm very, very excited for leaving 2020 and going into 2021, even if 2021 is the worst year yet, even worse than 2020. But with that being said, I was Joel Homie, and if you guys enjoyed today's video,